The year is 1492. The port of Palos is alive with noise, but beneath the shouts and laughter, there's an unease in the air that I cannot shake. I stand at the edge of the docks, the salty wind whipping at my hair, carrying with it the stench of fish guts, wet wood, and the sour reek of tar. The gulls circle above, screeching as if mocking us, their cries drowned out by the chaos below. Merchants swarm the ships, rolling barrels of salted meat and hard biscuits onto the planks. Crates of wine clatter against each other, ropes creak under the strain of heavy cargo, and the smell of pitch rises as men smear it across the seams of the hulls, sealing the wood for the long, uncertain voyage. The Santa María towers above me, her sails furled tight, her masts swaying slightly as though restless to be free of the shore. All around me, families cling to one another. Mothers wail as sons pull away, promising riches when they return. Some women try to smile bravely through tears, pressing tokens of faith into rough, calloused hands, small crucifixes, rosaries, folded letters. I catch the sound of whispered prayers, some begging for safe return, others for forgiveness, as though we were marching to our deaths. The men beside me, fellow sailors, deckhands, dreamers, and fools alike put on a different face. Some are drunk already, waving clay cups of cheap wine, boasting loudly of the gold and glory that await us across the endless sea. A new world, they cry, their words slurred but filled with desperate hope. Others are silent, staring at the horizon as if it were a grave waiting to swallow them whole. I shift the strap of my worn leather satchel, its weight almost nothing compared to the burden in my chest. Inside it, a knife, a small loaf of bread, and a wooden carving my younger sister gave me the night before. Her eyes had brimmed with tears as she pressed it into my palm. "So you don't forget us," she whispered, as though forgetting would ever be possible. The wood beneath my boots feels slick with sea spray and fish slime as I take my first steps toward the gangplank. The cries of the crowd rise behind me, 1,000 voices mixing with the crash of waves against the harbor wall. My heart thunders in my chest. Every instinct tells me to turn back, to run, to vanish into the alleys of Palos and never look at the sea again. But I don't. I step onto the plank. The ship groans as if alive, her ropes tightening, her hull shuddering. The salty tang burns in my throat as the wind pushes against the sails high above. Around me, the other sailors climb aboard, some laughing, some cursing, some crossing themselves as though already preparing for the confessional. And as I place both feet firmly on the deck of the Santa María, a single thought digs into me like a hook. This may be the last time I ever touch Spanish soil. The deck shudders beneath me as more sailors climb aboard, the creak of wood and the slap of waves against the hull echoing like a drumbeat of fate. I steady myself on the railing and glance back at the port. The shoreline is a blur of faces, hundreds of them pressed together along the docks, spilling into the narrow streets beyond. Some wave frantically, arms reaching out as though sheer willpower could hold us to land. Others stand in silence, their eyes wide and hollow, watching us like men already walking to the gallows. The sound is overwhelming crying, shouting, prayers murmured into the sea breeze. I find myself searching the crowd, though I know not for whom. My father is long gone, my mother buried years ago. But there among the sea of faces I catch sight of my sister, her shawl pulled tight against the wind, her small hand clutching the rosary she always wears. For a moment her eyes lock with mine. She is smiling, or at least trying to. but her lips tremble. I cannot tell if the tears streaking her cheeks are from the wind or her heart breaking. Beside her, a child tugs at her skirts, too young to understand why so many men vanish into the ships, too young to grasp what waits beyond the horizon. The child waves a clumsy flap of a small hand, and I feel my chest seize. For an instant, I want nothing more than to leap back onto the dock, to scoop them both into my arms and never let go. But the ship groans again. Ropes tighten, orders are barked across the deck. The sailors around me are a storm of contradictions. One kneels, crossing himself 3 times and kissing the wooden deck as though it was sacred ground. Another leans against the railing, laughing too loud, spitting into the sea, pretending not to care. A third man, pale as bone, vomits into the waves, his whole body shaking, perhaps from fear, perhaps from the rocking of the ship, already straining against the tide. And me? I grip the railing until my knuckles burn, my stomach twists with every breath. I want to remember this moment, the sound of the gulls, the shimmer of the Spanish sun on the water, the smell of salt mixed with the smoke of cooking fires drifting from the port. Because I know in my bones that once this ship pulls away, once the land shrinks to a line on the horizon, I may never see it again. The captain's voice cuts through the chaos, sharp and commanding. Ropes are loosed, sails unfurl like pale ghosts above us, and the ship lurches forward with the tide. The dock begins to drift away, inch by inch, face by face. I raise my hand, a feeble wave to the crowd, though I cannot say if my sister sees it. The distance between us grows with each heartbeat. Her face blurs, swallowed by the mass of people, until finally she is gone. A strange emptiness fills me, heavier than the sea itself. I take one last glance at the port of Palos, at the land of Spain, and whisper a silent prayer into the wind. Let me see it again. The first days at sea blur into one another until I can hardly tell where one ends and the next begins. Morning, evening, night, it all feels the same when the horizon is nothing but endless blue. At dawn, the bosun's whistle shrieks through the damp air, yanking us from what little sleep we manage on the hard, stinking planks below deck. My back aches constantly, pressed against rough wood, rats scurrying over my legs in the dark. Some nights I swear I feel their teeth testing my calloused fingers. And we climb up into the pale light, eyes stinging from salt and fatigue. Orders are shouted, curses thrown, and the work begins. Hauling ropes rough enough to tear the skin, patching sails that the wind has chewed ragged, scrubbing decks slick with seaweed and filth. My hands are blistered and bleeding. My shoulders burn with every heave of the lines. Yet still the ship demands more. She is a living beast, always hungry for labor, never satisfied. Meals are no comfort. Twice a day, if we are lucky, we're handed a slab of hardtack so solid I must slam it against the deck to crack it. Worms writhe inside, tiny white threads against the dry crumbs, but I eat them anyway. Better protein than nothing. The salted meat is no better, rank with rot, and the water once clear now stinks of mold and iron. Still we choke it down, our throats dry from the endless salt air. The smell never leaves us. Sweat, vomit, piss, tar, and brine, it seeps into our skin, into our hair, into every thread of cloth. No matter how the wind howls across the deck, the stench clings like a curse. And yet, there are moments, strange, fleeting moments when the sea feels almost holy. The way the sunrise paints the waves in molten gold, the way dolphins leap beside the bow, their bodies slicing through the water like silver blades. For For a heartbeat, I forget the hunger, the filth, the aching muscles. For a heartbeat, I believe perhaps this voyage will bring us to something wondrous. But the moment always fades. The ocean does not care for beauty or suffering. It only stretches on, merciless and endless, as the days pile into weeks, and the men around me begin to whisper, "How long? How far?" At first, the sea seemed endless in a way that inspired awe. The horizon stretched like a great promise, blue upon blue, no end in sight. But weeks have passed now, and that same horizon has turned into a curse. The men whisper at night, voices hushed so the officers will not hear. They say we are sailing off the edge of the world, that any day now the ocean will tilt downward, and we will tumble into a black abyss where no soul returns. Some swear they've seen signs of monsters, shapes sliding beneath the waves, too vast to be whales. Eyes that gleam like lanterns in the deep. I laugh at them by day, but at night, when the water slaps the hull just right, when the moonlight paints silver streaks across the waves, I feel those eyes too, watching, waiting. Others claim the sea itself is bewitched. The compass spins oddly, and once the needle froze in place for hours. "The devil's pulling it," one sailor muttered, his face pale as chalk. When lightning split the sky one evening without rain, the men crossed themselves frantically, whispering that God was warning us to turn back. Even the birds mock us. For days they circle high above, then vanish as suddenly as they came. Some sailors cheer when they appear, claiming they are signs of land. But when the birds disappear again, despair crushes them, heavier than any anchor. Columbus stands tall, voice firm, swearing land is near. He speaks with such conviction that some believe him. Others call him a liar behind his back, saying he will lead us all to watery graves just to chase a mad dream. I try to cling to hope. But at night, when I stare into that endless expanse, when the stars blur into one another and the sea merges with the sky, I feel it too, that hollow ache in the pit of my stomach, that dread whispering, "We are lost." The stench never leaves. Weeks of sailing have turned the ship into a prison of rot. Sweat and salt cling to every inch of skin, mixing with the smell of unwashed bodies and damp cloth. The tar on the deck, once a faint bitter tang, now reeks like burnt resin. The barrels of water have grown foul, brownish, smelling of mold and iron, so we gulp it down anyway because thirst gnaws at our throats like fire. The rats are everywhere. They slip across the floor, over the bunks, into our meals. Sometimes I see their beady eyes watching me, daring me to strike, and I know some men have lost fingers to their tiny teeth. The scratching and squeaking in the night makes sleep impossible, and in the darkness I sometimes imagine them gnawing at my face as I lie helpless on the deck. Food is worse. The hardtack is full of worms. Salted meat smells sour, smells rotten, but still we eat it. Some vomit over the railing, others stare silently into the waves, pretending to be strong. The smell clings to the air, thick as fog, making it impossible to breathe without tasting despair itself. Men cry quietly in corners, kneeling in prayer, shaking, muttering confessions they hope no one hears. Others grow violent. Fights break out over scraps of bread, over a barrel of water, over imagined slights. The officers' shouts barely pierce the chaos. Fear twists the hearts of men faster than hunger. I hold myself as steady as I can, biting my tongue to keep the nausea from spilling out. My hands are raw, my nails blackened with grime, my eyes red from the salt and smoke of cooking fires. Every breath tastes of salt, sweat, and hopelessness. And yet, still we sail, The horizon offers nothing but more blue. The wind carries no promise, no comfort, only the endless whisper of the ocean. Sometimes I swear I can hear it, low and sibilant, murmuring at the edge of my mind. You are nothing. You will die here. The world will forget you. I clutch my sister's wooden carving again. I pray, though I'm not even sure who I am praying to anymore. God, the ocean, some luckless spirit, or myself. Anything to cling to hope. But the smell of despair lingers, heavier than the waves, and I know in my bones that this voyage is more than a test of courage. It is a test of survival, and survival is slipping away from us, day by day. The sky darkened suddenly, the sun swallowed by clouds thick and black as iron. The first gust of wind hit the sails, snapping them with a sound like a whip across my ears. I stumble against the deck, hard hammering as the Santa María shudders beneath me, her timbers groaning in protest. Then the waves rise. Mountains of water surge against the hull, crashing over the sides, soaking men, ropes, and barrels alike. The deck tilts sharply, tossing me sideways. My stomach churns violently, bile rising. But there is no time to vomit, only time to cling to whatever I can. The rough wood, the slick ropes, the iron fittings that bite my hands. The sailors scream. Some cry, some curse, some pray so desperately that their voices crack. Men are thrown to the deck like rag dolls. The smell of salt, fear, vomit, and wet tar is overwhelming, almost choking. Lightning splits the sky, illuminating the chaos in blinding flashes. For a heartbeat, I see the faces of my comrades wide-eyed, terrified, teeth bared in screams, and I know any one of us could be swept overboard in the next instant. Thunder rolls like the roar of some angry god, shaking the ship to her bones. The officers shout orders, but the wind carries nothing. Ropes snap, sails tear, and every moment feels like the ship might break apart, spilling us into the merciless ocean. I tie myself to a rope, holding on with every ounce of strength, praying that it will hold, praying that I will hold. Hours pass, or is it days? Time no longer exists except as an endless rhythm of waves smashing, wind screaming, men crying. The ocean is alive, furious, and I am powerless against it. When at last the storm begins to ebb, the sky still gray and mournful. We are a shell of the men who boarded weeks ago. Shivering, soaked, exhausted, I stare at the horizon, wondering if land is anywhere in reach, or if we have been condemned to drift forever. My hands are raw, my muscles scream, my mind aches with the memory of the chaos. And yet, still we sail, because to stop is to die. Even after the storm passes, the ocean does not calm. The waves lie in wait, rolling silently beneath the pale morning sun, but the tension lingers like a predator crouched in the shadows. I notice it first in the birds. Flocks circle above us one day, then vanish without warning. Some are tiny, some large, their cries eerie against the quiet of the water. Sailors point at them with trembling hands, claiming they are signs of land nearby. But then they disappear again, leaving only whispers and unease. Strange objects float in the sea-broken branches, carved wood, what looks like the remnants of some unknown vessel. Sometimes they bob gently beside the hull, as if mocking us, as if the ocean itself is laughing at our plight. I dare not touch them, though curiosity gnaws at me. And at night, under the silver glare of the moon, I see shadows moving beneath the waves. Shapes too vast to be whales, gliding silently, almost intelligent. My heart pounds, but no one else notices. Perhaps they do, and do not speak. Or perhaps my mind is unraveling under the weight of fear. Men whisper stories. Some swear they have seen glowing lights beneath the water, lanterns of spirits lost at sea. Others claim to see faint figures walking on the horizon, only to vanish when looked at directly. Some mutter that the devil himself guides the currents to toy with us, to pull us into the abyss. I cling to Columbus's words. Land is near, he promises, but in my bones I feel the ocean's cold, patient gaze. Every splash of water against the hull, every flapping of torn sail, every cry of bird or man seems to whisper the same question. Will we survive this? And then, just as despair threatens to drown us, there is a shift, subtle, almost imperceptible. A line on the horizon, a green flicker against endless blue. The birds return, larger flocks this time, swooping in from the west. The whispers turn to shouts of hope. Something is coming, something we have waited for, dreamed of, and feared. Weeks at sea have broken men in ways I cannot fully describe. The endless horizon, the salt and rot, the constant fear it eats at us, gnaws at our minds until patience and hope are distant memories. It begins with whispers. In corners below deck, men speak in low voices, plotting, questioning, daring to hope for anything but Columbus's promised land. "He's leading us to die," one mutters, eyes darting toward the captain's cabin. "I will not sail to the edge of the world for a madman's dream." By day, the whispers grow bolder. Fists pound the deck in frustration. Screams echo when a man is accused of cowardice or stealing a ration of water. The officers shout, but their voices barely cut through the tension. Some sailors glare at me with suspicion, as if I too am waiting to betray them. Fear has twisted into rage. Men shove each other along the rails, brandishing knives over trivial arguments. A fistfight erupts near the bow. Men fall into the water, scrambling back aboard, soaked and shivering, cursing every wave. The smell of sweat, salt, and fear is suffocating. I try to cling to hope, to remember Columbus's words. Land is near, keep faith. But even I feel it slipping, my stomach twisting with doubt. The line between courage and madness blurs. I see men staring into the waves, as if willing them to swallow us whole just to escape the torment of endless sailing. And then comes the night when the threat of mutiny becomes real. Several men gather below deck, knives hidden, voices low but filled with certainty. They argue over whether to turn back, whether to throw Columbus overboard and save themselves. I hear their plotting and feel a chill deeper than the ocean ever could. I clutch the railing, knuckles white, heart hammering. I'm not sure whether to pray, fight, or flee. Every sailor around me seems poised on the edge of desperation, ready to shatter at the slightest spark. And yet, still we sail. Because even in fear, even in madness, a part of us knows if we stop, we die. The sea does not forgive hesitation. It begins as a whisper, a trembling voice somewhere on the deck, barely audible over the creak of the ship and the low groan of the waves. Land, land, I freeze. My heart stops as if the blood in my veins is holding its breath. For weeks, months perhaps, we've stared into the endless horizon, the same blue stretching in every direction. We've prayed, cursed, fought and trembled. And now a word, a single shouted word pierces the monotony like a blade. The cry grows louder, more men notice. Their voices rise, overlapping, ecstatic, terrified, almost unholy in their intensity. Some laugh, a hollow, manic sound born of disbelief. Others weep, clutching the ropes, their faces wet with salt water, sweat, and tears. The smell of the sea, of sweat and rot, doesn't fade, but for a moment, I taste hope instead. I press myself against the railing, squinting at the horizon. At first, it is only a shadow, a faint green smudge against the endless blue. I blink, sure it is an illusion, the mind playing tricks on the eyes exhausted by salt, sun, and starvation. But it does not vanish. The shadow grows. Trees, perhaps, or hills. The shapes emerging slowly, painfully real. The crew erupts. Men shove each other to the rails, shouting, crying, laughing. Some drop to their knees, kissing the deck, the ropes, the very air, as if salvation itself has been delivered through their hands. The chaos is a mixture of hysteria and joy. Columbus himself stands at the bow, pointing, face pale but eyes shining, voice rising above the pandemonium. Land, the promised land! I feel my legs shake, my hands tremble, gripping the rail until my knuckles turn white. The sun glints on the water, and I swear the waves sparkle as if reflecting our relief back to us. Birds swoop low over the deck, some landing briefly on the railing, their cries almost musical in the stunned quiet that follows moments of wild shouting. I look at the men around me, faces I've seen in fear, in despair, in rage, now glowing with disbelief and awe. Some are praying again, some embracing each other, some staring in silence, mouths open, eyes wide. I realize that we are all holding our breaths, as if exhaling too soon might make this miracle vanish. And I feel it, the weight of weeks, the horror of storms, the terror of the endless sea lift, if only slightly. For the first time in what feels like forever, hope is tangible. I taste it like salt mixed with a sweet scent of earth, like a promise made real. But even as my heart soars, I cannot shake the memory of the ocean's cruelty. I know it may not be over, that new dangers, new trials, still wait between us and safe shore. Yet for this moment, this breathless, miraculous instant, land exists. Land we can see. Land that tells us we survived. And I know deep in my soul that nothing will ever feel as miraculous again. The night passes in restless waves. Though I hardly notice time anymore, the horizon has swallowed it whole. Then, just before dawn, there is a shift in the air. The wind softens, the waves grow gentle, and a strange calm settles over the deck. It feels almost sacred, like the ocean itself is holding its breath. I lean against the railing, my body aching from the storms, the labor, the endless rocking, and I strain my eyes toward the horizon. The first light of morning creeps over the water, painting it gold and amber, the colors so vivid I can hardly believe they are real. The blue of the sea deepens, the sky bursts into shades of pink and violet, and for a heartbeat, the world seems untouched by fear or hunger. Then I see it land. Not a shadow this time, but real shapes rising from the horizon, hills, trees, and white beaches. The air itself seems different, fresher, scented with earth, flowers, and the salt that has been our constant companion. I inhale deeply, tasting something almost sweet for the first time in weeks. The men around me are silent now, faces pale, eyes wide. Some clutch the rails, unsure if they dare move, afraid that the sight will vanish if they do. Others whisper prayers, voices trembling with awe. I cannot stop my hands from shaking. My heart races as disbelief battles with relief. The birds, which have been our guides for days, return in flocks, swooping over the deck and diving toward the shore. Their cries fill the air with an almost musical sound, and the moment feels timeless, suspended between terror and triumph. I step closer to the bow, feeling the wood of the ship warm beneath my feet in the early sun. The waves lap gently against the hull, no longer menacing, and for the first time I imagine standing on solid ground again. The forest looms in the distance, dense and strange, whispering secrets we cannot yet understand. I close my eyes and let the dawn wash over me. The endless sea, the storms, the fear, the mutinous whispers, all of it melts away in this first light. Land is real, land exists, and we have survived to see it. The ship drifts closer to the shore, the sand now clearly visible beneath the sparkling waves. My stomach twists with anticipation and unease. For weeks we have lived among rats, rot, storms, and fear. And now, finally, something entirely unknown stands before us. Living people. Not the sea, not the horizon, not illusions, but human beings. Figures emerge from the forest, moving slowly toward the beach. Their skin is painted with patterns I cannot name, bright against the deep green of the trees. Feathers adorn their hair, glinting in the sunlight, and they carry spears or wooden tools. Some are tall and thin, others smaller, all observing us with cautious, piercing eyes. A hush falls over the deck. Even the waves seem to pause. Men stop their shouting, their laughing, their praying. Some clutch ropes or weapons, unsure if this encounter will bring peace or death. I grip the railing, knuckles white, heart hammering in my chest. Every instinct tells me to step back, yet I cannot tear my eyes away. The people of this new world watch us just as intently, some point whispering to one another, moving in hesitant steps closer to the water. I notice their expressions: curiosity, caution, and something like wariness. They are neither fearful nor hostile, at least not yet. One of the taller figures steps forward, raising a hand in a gesture I do not understand. My own hand trembles as I raise mine, awkward, uncertain. Around me, sailors mutter in confusion, some scoffing, others in awe. The smell of the shore is different from anything I have known: sweet earth, flowers, salt, and a faint, smoky aroma from small fires flickering among the trees. Birds call from the canopy, and the forest seems alive with eyes, watching us as we watch them. Time stretches. Every second is charged with tension, with a thrill of discovery, with a fear of the unknown. The men around me hold their breath. I do too. We are all acutely aware that history is unfolding before us, not just in the land beneath our feet, but in the people who inhabit it. And in that moment, I understand something I could not have before. We are not alone. We have crossed oceans and risked everything, and now here we meet the world as it truly is: vast, strange, and alive. Columbus steps forward, flag in hand, and raises it high. The bright banner flaps in the morning wind, its colors stark against the blue sky and green forest. He declares, voice ringing across the deck, that this land is now claimed for Spain. The words strike me like a bolt of lightning. Every hardship, every storm, every moment of terror, despair, and doubt surges back through me, but now mingled with something new: awe. I look around at the men, some cheering, some silent, some weeping. We are all changed, though none of us can yet comprehend the full scope of what has happened. I step closer to the bow, feeling the warmth of the sun on my back, the gentle sway of the ship beneath my feet. The wind carries the scent of earth and flowers, of the strange fires burning among the trees. The people on the shore watch us still, cautious but curious, as if waiting to see what these strangers will do next. For a moment, time feels suspended. The ocean, the storms, the mutiny, the fear, all of it seems to have led to this single point. I realize with a shiver that is part exhaustion, part wonder, that we are not just sailors on a voyage. We are witnesses, We are participants in a moment that will echo across centuries. I think of my family, of my sister who gave me the carved wooden token that I have held through storms and despair. I think of every man on this deck, of every rope pulled, every meal eaten in misery, every whispered prayer to gods unknown. And I know that what we have done surviving, seeing, touching this unknown world is more than personal triumph. It is destiny. I kneel for a brief moment, not in prayer, but in reverence to the ocean that carried us, to the land that welcomed us, and to the weight of history pressing down like the sun on my back. I am exhausted, filthy, terrified, and yet I have never felt more alive. Around me, the crew begins to stir with purpose. Some prepare to step ashore, others cautiously watch, hearts still racing. The people on the shore begin to mimic gestures, perhaps trying to understand, perhaps welcoming us in ways we cannot yet see. And I know deep in my bones that the world will never be the same again, neither for those who came before nor for those who will come after. And for a sailor like me who has seen storms, despair, and the endless sea, this moment, this first step into the unknown is nothing short of miraculous.